is the Chronorad Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Over 5 years, 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is February the 6th, 2024, and this is episode 422 of Workshop Radio. How are all my crazy delinquents out there this evening? Looks like we had a last-minute change of plans. So if you dropped in looking for EMT Don, we have moved that show, some technical difficulties in the background here, to a date soon to be in the future. However, on last minute, I was able to find the most beautiful woman in the world to come on the show, and it will be Mrs. Cook in just a moment. Real quick, we're just going to knock out the two sponsors, and then we're going to get into our show for the evening. Number one, Homestead Ham Radio, Two Chicks Homestead. Yes, they have a podcast. Yes, Nate is a ham radio expert, and yes, he's willing to help you out with what he has in his knowledge base. So give them a shot. Check them out at Homestead Ham Radio. They took a chance on us, and I will be forever grateful. So remember, Nate and Aaron Lemaster, check them out if you're looking for some inspiration, or if you just really don't know what the whole ham radio thing is, give them a go. And number two, A Farmer's Kind of Life. Amy Dingman. She was our second sponsor we ever had here. And you know what's really neat? All of the sponsors are people I've met in real life and who are friends of mine. So give her a go. She has cut back on the amount of podcasts she puts out, but her content is incredible. So if you're looking for somebody to tell you how it is with a smile on their face, give Amy a go. Give her some support. And if you like getting old-fashioned newsletters in the mail, sign up for the Farmers Papers. I get mine every single month. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Becky, and I'm going to bed. Hey, baby, how are you?
Good.
Good. So we are, in case you're wondering, we're not at home. There's no black screen behind us. Where are we today?
We're in Lloyd.
Where's Lloyd?
Lloydminster.
Lloydminster what?
Alberta.
Alberta. Yes.
Slash Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Because like if you walk out the hotel, walk across the parking lot, and just cross the road, you're in Saskatchewan.
Yes. If the weather's warm enough and the wind's blowing the right direction, I could actually spit into Saskatchewan.
Pretty
from
much.
Here, so yeah. So what have we been busy doing up here?
Well, I'm at the new daycare.
Building our empire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that going?
Good. Yeah.
I just want to throw out this comment while we're started here. So Chris Dixon said, well, hey there, Becky, and Becky's man. Thinks he's funny, doesn't he?
My bitch. No.
That's me, all right. We've been saying for a while that, Jesus, you haven't been on. So if you guys don't know how this works, I have to book a schedule with her ahead of time to get her on the show. It's like 6 weeks out if I want to get her on. So that's why she hasn't been on in a while.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
It has been a while. I don't know if you've been on in 2024 yet.
Oh, no,
definitely not.
I think the last one was
it when we were on the road, or did we do one when we got back?
It was before Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't quite remember.
Life has been busy, hasn't it, darling?
Oh, yeah. It's been. I
have been a little bit absent from social media. I mean, I'm still there, but not like I normally am. I'm not in the Telegram group as much as I'd like. Life is really busy right now, and it is. It's stupid busy right now. Tell us a bit about, so everybody wants to know. I mean, we've talked about Busy Bees and how the expansion's going. Chris Dixon says celebrities are hard to pin down.
Right?
Yeah, I get it. That's why
I'm here for free.
Like, she has a hard time getting me on her shows.
I should require payment up front.
Yes, well, we'll work on it. I can see what I can pay you later. How's that sound?
No, I require cash.
I'll take you out for dessert. You want to go for something to eat?
No?
Yeah, we're already in the hotel room, so yeah. So we're at the hotel, and this has kind of been a way of life for the last little while, hasn't it, for you especially?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Last week I was sick, so I wasn't up here quite a bit.
made her take some days off, right? Yeah.
Well, I ended up getting bronchitis again, so it's like, I had to take some days off. But we went to Edmonton for the volleyball tournament, and instead of going home, I just drove from Edmonton to here, and I'm going to be here till Friday morning.
Which is, so it's not that big of a deal. So leaving Edmonton, so we went up for 2 days of teenage girl craziness. It was a 660 team tournament, which was great. We had a lot of fun with it. Actually, it was a really good time, wasn't it?
No, it was fun. I could maybe do without getting up at 6:30 in the morning, but it's one of those things.
Never. Next time I'll let you sleep in. You can come to the second game of the day.
Yeah. 6:30 in the morning is a little much on a Saturday and a Sunday for me. But
it really is. Yeah. So we ran all week, tournament, basketball, volleyball, the whole week. And then we went straight to the city for the weekend, which was nice. We went Friday, Saturday night, get a little precious metal shopping in and a couple of meals out, which was nice. Hotel wasn't bad. And then, so
the hotel could have been a lot better.
In case anybody wants to know, Becky and I, except when we're down in the States, tend to travel separately at this point, don't we? So apparently, didn't know this, folks, but if a husband and a wife take separate vehicles to events, it means they're having trouble in their marriage, right? So I didn't know this. I knew if people start walking, it means they're having marriage trouble or something. I heard that. But anyway, so apparently that's the story.
Apparently that's the story. Yeah.
So anyway, we have to take separate vehicles because sometimes I have to run home to anyways.
Well, no, we take separate vehicles for the simple fact is that, like, if we're traveling with the girls or we're doing something, and like say someone called and said, hey, my basement's flooding, the pipes burst, and you have to run back to Provost, which is about a 3-hour drive. I, like, instead of packing up the girls and hauling everybody back when we're supposed to be up here or like up in the city, we can stay and we have access to a vehicle.
Exactly.
And that's what, and it's the same thing with me with the daycare. Like if someone called and say, hey, guess what? Your daycare's on fire and I have to run home. It's not leaving you without a vehicle. And it's not like, and I know, and it was Charlotte's volleyball tournament and she would have been devastated. Right. So, and it's just, and of course, and then me going to Lloyd, it made it a lot easier.
Chris Dixon had a good comment here. He said, oh boy, it's true everywhere. We take separate vehicles and show up at different times. You should hear the rumors. Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, it's true. Like, and I would never, ever risk the chance of telling Charlotte, hey, guess what? You can't you can't finish your tournament because we have to run home.
But you know what else? Like, what was great about it was, and you know this, of course, and I'll explain to everybody else, but when we left Edmonton, I took the girls home in a snowstorm. Mm-hmm. You get to head northeast and I missed the storm. Yeah. And that way you didn't have to drive all the way home, then get up at the butt crack of dawn the next morning and head north to the daycare. So in a shitty storm.
In a shitty storm. Yeah.
And
so
definitely the worst roads of the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they weren't bad until I hit Lloyd.
No.
So I did pretty good for travel there.
So we had fun. Yeah. We're calling this hotel room here Becky's personal condo. Because,
well, it's about the size of my first apartment when I moved out. And actually, I think it's probably bigger than my first apartment.
And you were saying that your very first apartment was on the 11th floor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just, and I know you know this, but for other folks to know where I lived, there was no building that was even half that height. I think the tallest building in Digby was 3 floors.
Yeah, it was on the 11th floor, and I was over the water. St. Clair River, and you could see Port Huron, Michigan from my balcony. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice.
But this hotel room is actually bigger than my apartment was.
And again, we saved the points, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So how is the Empire building going?
Well, the one daycare is up and it was already up and running, but it's official. Everything's been officially switched over and done.
As of January 1st, right?
No, it was January 15th.
Right. It was a little bit, yeah, I know government and spinning wheels.
But that's completely done. And from what I understood when I spoke to the electricians today is that they were supposed to be done today, possibly tomorrow, for the fire alarm system. So
talk about that a little bit, because when did you have that crazy nap in the car and then woke up with the idea to open a new daycare? Was that last spring?
It was last LFTN.
So we're coming up on a year now. Mm-hmm. Not quite, but And we figure 6 months we figured by the new year for sure, right? We'd be up and running. So now what day are we? We're February 6th.
Yep.
And we're waiting on a $40,000 or $80,000. How much was it? The $66,000
fire alarm system.
Fire alarm system. Even though there was already a perfectly good fire suppression system in the building. So there you go. So
governments at their best. Yeah, it's never enough.
Which would have been fine if the electrician had got off their ass and started it when they said they were going to.
They were supposed to start before Christmas.
Around the 15th of December.
They were supposed to start around the 15th of December, and they were supposed to be done by the middle of January.
Yeah, January 15th.
And now they're not going to be, they're going to be officially done the work tomorrow, but they're not going to be officially done until February 14th, 15th, and 16th because the engineer has to come down and sign off on a certificate, and they're waiting for some sort of elevator company so they can get into the elevator shaft.
Because they never called the elevator company until this week.
When they should have been called before Christmas.
I do believe we had about 7 conversations with the electricians about that, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and my landlord is not too impressed with how things are going.
So I came up with a good idea today. I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to share it with everybody here as well. If and when we do this again, like you said, in the city, if we need to get work like this done, we need to have a clause in the contract that says every day they go over, they lose part of their money.
Yeah, I agree, because this is anytime I've ever gone there, I'm not saying they're doing crappy work or anything, but anytime I've gone there, they're moving at a snail pace.
There is literally no sense of urgency with them whatsoever.
None whatsoever. And then if you go in there, they'll just drop everything and they'll just stand there and try to talk to you for an hour. And you're just like, dude, this is an hour that I'm paying you. You need to get this done. And they just don't,
There's no urgency. I've said it. And every time you ask them about, well, what's next?
Yeah.
And in case you're wondering, the place looks like 3 electricians have been in there for the last month.
Yeah, I know. I'm not too impressed.
It did look a little better today. So, But anyway.
Well, I called and I spoke to the head guy, and he said that they were supposed to be cleaning it up and everything today.
They did a pretty good job today.
I guess we'll see.
So. Guys, so for those in the audio only, Hardway Homestead said you hired union workers.
Pretty much. Oh
man. Yeah, I agree.
And the thing is, it's like what my landlord had said, is they're in no sense of urgency to get it done. But I guarantee they're going to be very, very urgent to get their paycheck.
Oh man! The final bill will be probably on our doorstep the owner's doorstep the day before the owner of the building. Sorry, that we're leasing. But it's unreal.
Yeah, they won't be in any urgency. They'll be urgent to get that money. So
if anybody wants to kind of have a feel for what we deal with, Chris Dixon sums it up pretty good. He says codes to supplement the codes for the codes. And then he said, I'm surprised anything ever opens in Canada, regulated beyond belief. Now, you guys know, I'm not pro-government by any means. However, with daycares, I understand the fact that things need hoops to be jumped through. But they have there's an R word that comes to mind that I won't say out loud, but that's exactly what they remind me of.
Yeah, so. It's gotten a little, it almost seems like they've hired extra people to just sit around and try to make up rules that they can come up with.
Make work projects. I mean, if you heard, I forget exactly where I read this recently, but the whole idea, how they say that they keep spending more and more and more money on education, but education doesn't get any better. And the reason is because they haven't hired more teachers. They've hired more administrators.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds me of the oil patch. Remember when times were good and they spent? Where'd the money go? All these make work projects, right?
Yeah, and all these higher ups who do nothing but go out for dinners and lunches and go golfing, and they're making $350,000 a year, right? But they don't actually work; they just kind of exist.
Just so you know, folks, we're going to have a morning safety meeting every day, and there needs to be a checklist done for the morning safety meeting. Also, we're implementing a new checklist that you check off that you did the checklist for the safety meeting. In case anybody wants to know, that's what we used to do.
And if anybody needs to get a hold of me, I'm going out for lunch with these 2 guys, and then I'm going to go for golf in the afternoon, then I'm going to go out for dinner, and then I might sneak back by through if you guys want to have a drink with me.
Absolutely. And look, guess who's here?
Oh, I can take off.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I think we have our our gremlin's figured out. Although I see a big gremlin in the background coming on here. So. You sure you don't mind?
I don't mind. It's all right, Donald. I can take a hint.
Love you, Mrs. Cook.
I love you too.
Hey, guys, guess what? Plans changed again. We're live. So, Mrs. Cook, before I bring Donald on, we need to do a live sometime, just you and I, and we'll just shoot the shit pretty soon. So, if you can fit me into your schedule, I'd be happy. All right. Love you. So, guys, let's bring on the actual guest of the evening. Hey, Mr. Donald, how are you?
Very good. If I don't like to be late or make excuses, but if I told you what happened, you probably laugh.
Dude, it's fine. You what you do, and no worries. I love having you on here, and I know folks showed up to see you, and Mrs. Cook was like, you know what? If Donald isn't here, something must have happened, so she's going to come on and have a hell of a time with me.
I got back to my office over an hour ago, and as I walk up, there's a guy sitting on the bench in front of the office, and then one of the corporate guys walks in. It's like, he's a student. Like, oh, okay. He's a student of one of your instructors for the morning class. He said he was homeless. And so it's like, what the hell? One of the managers told him he could stay in the building overnight.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And that was a very hinky situation. We had to have a conversation, and things got worked out, at least for tonight. But interesting.
Oh, dude, that puts you in a bad situation. I get it. Oh, anyway, sorry you had to. Well, it's okay. We're here. I'm a professional, and I had the world's sexiest lady come on with me, so we did good.
Oh, I feel jealous now. Maybe I need to grow more hair for you, Tim. I
don't know. I'm giving you a run for the money, so
I'll take it.
Well, that's all right. You know what? We're gonna pretend like this is the start of the new episode, and I may cut the audio out, or I may just leave the warm-up act on, and folks will have fun with it. So how you been, Donald?
I am very good. I'm very good. Excellent. At least right now.
Yeah, I'm good. You look happy. You look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I like that.
Yeah.
So you reached, okay, guys. So Donald's here. Donald's been You don't hold the record, Donald, but this is your third episode on the workshop. So you're getting into elite territory here. So, consider yourself lucky. No, but you reached out to me. You wanted to come on and share a story. So I'm not going to ask anything, just so everybody knows. I'm not going to ask Donald any questions that he didn't already kind of say, and if there's anything that you decide you don't want to talk about at any point, just say, Tim, shut the hell up. We're moving on. Something like that. So, no, but it was you wanted to come on anyway. So,
well, it's one of those where, if you want cool tactical, like gun stuff, go to Tac Response. If you need cool guy gear, John Willis. Prepping, homesteading, Jack and Nicole. If you need medical, Bear Independent, and then Chuck. They can teach you all the fun stuff. So trying to find my little niche and things like that, like I met people at Self-Reliance. I met you at LFTN. Was it 2021 or 2022?
It had to be 2022 because 21 got canceled because we couldn't. Okay. The government didn't give us permission to leave the country.
Lovely. And I found my tribe. I found people. I found family, not relatives. So just a little bit of background. EMT medic. Don't really work on the boo-boo bus anymore. Administrative role. I'm director of education for the company I work. I oversee 20 paramedic instructors. We have 8 classroom locations, and depending on enrollment, we have between 150 and 300 students.
Dude.
Yeah. Corporate life. If you would ask me 5 years ago why I'm here and where I got here, I never would have expected it. So leading up to that, I was still working the truck for a little bit and teaching before I took the director position. And I had one of those really bad calls. I mean, really bad calls. And it just kind of put me back on a path and spiraling down. So I've been on here before, and people have heard my spiel when it comes to, what the hell did I call it? I got rid of it. I let it go. Confessions of an Ambulance Driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really confessions of an ambulance driver on the other end, where I was not the patient, but I understood where the patient's coming from. So after that bad call, it really wrecked me. Had to do some self-reflecting, and the self-reflecting kind of turned into a bottle of bourbon, and it just really it's hard to quantify. I drank the bourbon, woke up the next day, and it's like the problem's still there, and now you got one hell of a hangover. And then I'm going through all the embarrassing calls. And then there's been a couple other brushes with alcohol and things like that. And I even believe on the last time I was talking to you, I was playing around with the whole AA thing.
Mhm.
Okay. Actually, you might have to keep me on track with this one, Tim.
Yeah, no, it's good. So,
Yeah.
okay. So you and I have talked in the background, and it's cool because we met, like I said, 2 years ago, just about, and we hit it off. You know, I call you my brother from another mother, and Becky really liked you too, which is weird because, you know,
Yeah.
she doesn't like anybody. So that's a that's a bonus. So she just threw something at me. It just missed my head. So we're good.
Okay.
And so we kept in contact, and you know, it's neat. And that's when you know you've met a good friend, is when you can go 2, 3, 4, 6 months and not really say anything, and then you can call or you can send a text, and it's all it needs to be, you know. And so we just kept, you know, you kept me in the loop, and we kept talking and different things. And when did you call me? I'm not sure. Was it just the new year, or was it just before the new year when you kind of said, "Hey, I need to talk," or "I'd like to share my story"?
I finally hit the wall and started getting better back in right about Thanksgiving.
So
But go ahead.
Let's go back a bit, because you've
Okay.
got everything that you've shared with me. So
Mhm.
you had a bad call, and you had a bottle of bourbon at the time, and then things
Mhm.
didn't stay so good for a little while.
Well, that's just it. Like waves, cycles. You know, it's good till it's not. I was battling alcoholism, and I took the director position. And then I still had the scar tissue from that bad call. That one I'm not going to rehash here.
No. But you added
it's
more
one-
stress to your life.
Yeah, it's one of those, if someone ever meets me in person and they ask, I'll happily tell the story. But that's a person-to-person thing. So it's one of those things where it's not 9 to 5. Right now I've had 2 instructors leave, and I'm teaching 3 different classes along with everything else with this. And it's one of those where it's always something else. This instructor calls in, this student has an issue. Just this week, I had to drop a student. He shoved me in the middle of a class. Like, that's conduct unbecoming. So it's stuff like that. And I would go home, and then I would sit by myself. When I was with people, especially my wife, healthy, fine. So I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, all right, let me get a drink. And so a drink turned into 2 drinks, turned into 3 drinks. We know the math on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Waking up early morning, late afternoon, it's like, what the hell was I thinking? I won't do that again. And it turned into a vicious cycle. It was one of those where it went from, I would go to work and I would teach a class, and then my coworker, I knew it was starting to get bad when he would go ahead and he joked one day. It's like, "Hey, Don, we should have an office bottle." I'm like, "You know what? That's a really good idea. Let's do that." And I gave him my debit card. He went and he got an office bottle. And then it turned into, you know what? I have an office bottle. Let's have a bottle in my car. So I had rum in the office. I had tequila in the car. And I alluded to it in the notes. When I was teaching the class, instead of the content of the class of which I was teaching, it's more, can't wait till I get a break and I go into the office because this is a bad day. I need to take a drink. Or it would turn into not just have a sip of the bottle in the car with friends. It's like, Class is over, going home. No one's around. Let me take a little sip. Okay. And it got to the point where it got interesting because I had a CPR class full of paramedics, full of nurses, and I was completely wasted. And it was to the point where I was functioning, and I don't think they could tell, but I look in the back room and I see the other bald guy with a styrofoam cup. He's rosy cheeked too, and he looks at me. It's like, okay, we're doing the same thing here. We both know. Got through that class, and then just the self-loathing that came with it. I could go on and on specific cases of just when drinking, I stopped drinking, and the bottle would start drinking for me. Not to be cliche.
No.
Yeah.
So is it Carrie's been on the show before, and he shared kind of similar stories. And the first question you sent me to ask was about EMS, fire, and police.
Okay.
why they don't take care of themselves. So when you talk about the rosy cheeked dude in the back room with a styrofoam cup, is that a common occurrence? Is it something that most people just expect for people in emergency response? And why don't those folks take care of their mental health?
It's interesting. 10, 20, 30 years ago, not to be political, I'm going to drop a word here. It's like, you go to talk to somebody about it. It's like, shut the fuck up, pussy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure. That's how it was.
You were shunned and hazed for it. Now it's more accepted. You go out, you get help and things like that, but it's still in social circles, not popular to talk about. The call I went on, I called you guys about it. My partner didn't know. No one at the company I work for knew. They knew it was a really bad call. They read my report. Just the stigma of, we tell our patients to take care of themselves. Your blood pressure's high. You might stroke out. You should get on a statin. You should take care of yourself. You're having a heart attack, and this is the second time I transported you for chest pain. You should really do some life changes as we go through a drive-through and get the number one.
Yeah, I understand. I do.
Yeah.
So, at least that part.
And you don't get into a job like this for money. And if someone says, I'm doing this to help you, and it's selfless, bullshit. It's a little bit of self-serving. I do like helping people. I do enjoy teaching. But I wasn't handling it. And you give so much of yourself to your patients, to your partners, in my case, my students, my instructors. You don't give anything back to yourself. And then you find other ways to cope. That's why a lot of people I talk to in this field, police, fire, EMS, they're on their second and third marriage, and they still got their, side piece that they're calling. They're refinanced their house 4 times, whatever it may be. 4 times, I don't know, refinanced the second time. So we take care of everybody else, but we don't take care of ourselves. And then we still get the stigma and all the things that, come with it.
Is there, I know, maybe anyway, I know for most people, EMS training is a lot shorter than it probably should be, but is there much in that kind of leads people toward helping themselves? Is there any training that you get, or is it pretty, surface?
Hold on. Let me answer that. Here, let's do another plug. Radio Made Easy, right? I got that sitting on my desk right there. I might as well.
That's awesome.
I'm flipping through a textbook right now. And what's scary is it is 1 chapter in a 41 chapter book. Let me find it.
And speak of the devil, we have Homestead Medical. Chuck's in here now too. So, and
he's one of the people I reached out to around that time. And he let's just say he kindly put boot the throat when it came to a conversation. I reread Chuck, you're listening right now. I reread your messages probably 100 times when it came to the topic we're talking about right now.
He's another one of those guys that will smile, and he seems so unassuming, but he 100% will tell you exactly how it is. And I love that about him.
So I don't think I'm going to find the chapter. Let me do one last look through.
That just shows how hard it is to find. And how
it's one chapter in here, and it's like 20 pages, health and wellness of the EMT.
Right.
And then here's the textbook, right? How big is a sumbitch? And it's one chapter in here on how you should take care of yourself. And we don't do it. We have the resources that we don't use. We have the training that we fall back on for people, but we don't take care of ourselves.
So my daughter went the other day. We went to a nutritionist, and this nutritionist, without judging, didn't appear to take much of his own advice. And I thought that must be hard, because I know, I'm a dude who struggles with his weight, and I talk about being prepared and the number one rule of survival. I get it. It must be hard. It's weird where that dichotomy comes from. You're so busy taking care of everybody else that you just don't bother. Maybe go back a little. You're saying how most people who go into being a paramedic don't necessarily do it out of selfless reasons. Do a lot of folks kind of dig the adrenaline? Is that where it comes from? And
it could be.
And you just want to keep on that high all the time? Is that maybe where it comes from, or what do you think?
EMT, EMS, it's there's definitely adrenaline junkies. Like, there's calls that will go on where it's like, I want to drive lights and sirens. We really don't need lights and sirens. Every call has to be upgraded, has to go to the closest hospital or trauma center. It's not really a thing. And the other part of it too is it's one of those careers where you can get into with a high school diploma at the moment. And then you can start working, and it's not great money, but you can definitely live off it. And the longer you do it and the more credentials you get, even without a college degree, you can definitely support yourself. My brother-in-law, he is a 10-year plus CFD medic, Chicago Fire Department.
Okay.
He's got a very nice house, a lovely family. He's killing it. And it's where all his other family members got into it. It's like they're nurses, they got college degrees. And here's this guy, he's got a high school diploma and a certificate from the state of Illinois. It's like, congratulations, you're a paramedic. Go save lives. Yeah.
So
he's go ahead.
So you're dealing with what you were dealing with, and you had the rough call and you were self-medicating, and then you decided for some reason to start teaching and take a big increase in responsibility. Why did you do that?
You know what? It was free therapy.
Okay.
It was free therapy. I could tell a group full of 18 to 25-year-olds, and I'm 37.
Okay.
And they're just hanging on every word I have to say. It's like, this feels good. This is where I need to be. And then it gets a little bit older. And then it turns into, it's like, okay, I'm telling these kids this, that, and the other, putting the emotions behind it. It's like, just 20 feet away from me is that bottle of, as I look over at the other desk right now, where it used to be. It was free therapy, and it was one of those things where it got me away from the ambulance long enough where I didn't take care of the problem. I just forgot about the problem.
That's fair.
Until it resurfaces.
Sure.
When a student asks, like, I this is not one of my pet peeves, but it's one of those I got to explain to the students when they ask, what's the worst call you've ever been on? And then it turns into, it's like, that's a loaded question. The worst call I've ever been on is one where I didn't get to eat lunch. And then they look at me sideways, and then I got to give them the rationale. It's, I'm a fat guy. I like to eat food. And then I give them the real reason. When you ask a first responder, what's the first call you've been on, or anyone that works in that kind of a field, you're asking them to relive possibly one of the most traumatic events in their life, or having to think about what their patient went through,
It reminds me, of course, I was too young and innocent to know better, but I used to ask my grandfather all the time. I was, 5 years old, 7 years old. I wanted to hear cool war stories. I wanted to hear about the guns and the shooting and all that. And I didn't know any better, and it's the same. Like, I remember being in my early 20s and asking a firefighter one time, I said, Are you keeping busy? And he damn near killed me. And I was like, I didn't mean anything by it, but he was like, you don't ever ask her, he was kind of superstitious, but also, so, it's tough. You don't realize what people have gone through and how quick, because we're really good at compartmentalizing things, right? So you can take that trauma and you can throw it down in, and if you stay busy long enough and you're running this way or that way, well, it's great. As long as nothing reminds me of it, I'm cool. But as soon as somebody says it, that could ruin your week, your month, like you could be hooped for a while.
Well, you even said it. It's one of those times where if you got 100 things to do, that's great until you accomplish all 100 things. And then you got that alone time. And you just sit and ponder it and think about it. The list of regrets, would have, could have, and should have, right? I think we all got those. Just how we handle it. And at the time, I wasn't doing the best on it.
So you tinkered with AA for a little while and didn't particularly care for it, hey? Without going negative or anything, because everybody, the different things. Yeah. There was a program I heard about from Mike Rowe the other day on his podcast, and I can't remember what it was, but it was different. And he wasn't slamming AA either. He was just saying people need different solutions.
Yeah. That was one of the things I learned in AA. They call it their program. So I had to figure out my program of what worked for me. Going to AA in a meeting, initially, like teaching, it turned into therapy. And these guys around me really understood. But the first thing I noticed in the first couple early meetings was like, hi, I'm an alcoholic. And then they're talking about they're also addicted to substance, narcotics.
Okay.
Like, shit. Like, I work on an ambulance. I think probably like less than 100 feet of me, away from me, I got fentanyl and shit. Just because of what I do and where I work, it's like, could that happen to me? And then the meetings progressed, and it's one of those, it really depended on the meeting. There are one or two I went to when I was on the road that were great, that were really great. Other ones turned into, it seemed like more of, depending on the length of the meeting, the length of the time they were sober, a badge of honor. And someone that was new was almost told to just sit back and listen. Don't share your story. Just sit back, listen until you get your training wheels off.
Oh, wow.
Let the people handle it. And then other meetings, it was just, they followed, let me see, I got all the books today. They're somewhere. 12 steps, 12 traditions, all that stuff. But it didn't seem that they were content with the sobriety. They constantly had to be, woe is me, I am nothing more than an alcoholic. I didn't like those meetings because, like, I'm not just an alcoholic. I'm a person. I got skills. I got,
There's a few folks that I've met that have come out of the AA system, and each of them have that same, it's almost like, and I'm not saying I've never struggled, with alcoholism or anything, but it's like they'll never get past it. It's all, and I get it. They have to beat that back all the time. I understand that, but I've met a few people who are miserable former alcoholics, and they, like you said, they wear it as a badge, and they almost beat you over the head with it.
Yeah. And I didn't want that to be me. So I did the meetings for a while, and I did the whole sponsor thing. And I will say this much. I'm not bad-mouthing it. For the people it works for, keep doing it.
Yes.
Keep doing it. But you got to find the right support. You got to have your ducks in a row, get the right sponsor, and then just work your program. It wasn't working for me. Maybe if I would have tried another meeting or kept plucking at it, maybe. But I found another way that worked. And it's weird.
Tell me. I love it.
For me, I was scrolling through TikToks, and I forget his channel. I should plug him. He's great. He's talking about, you are no more so, if you've been sober 100 days, and on day 101, you take a drink, and day on 102, well, you still have 101 days sober.
Yes. 1
day of drinking does not take you back to square one. And that's kind of where I was having some issues with alcohol, AA. My sponsor was telling me, and this was one of those things too, where I didn't get quite as bad as he was. He was telling me, it's like, yep, I was on my hands and knees. I couldn't function without drinking. It was one of those. Now I got 1.5 years and I've got over, this many decades of drinking. It's like, I get it. I don't. And it was one of those, like, where it's like, you need to sit back and listen. Okay. And I tried that. And then it kept coming back to me. It's like dry versus sober. Okay. I had to figure out the dry part. Dry versus sober. Go ahead.
Yeah, just going to expand on that, because this was when you sent that to me and we were talking about it. I could probably kind of guess, but in this term, what does that mean?
When you're not drinking, you're dry.
Okay.
And then you can go long periods of time. And this is the way I interpret it. And I'm going to break away from some of the AA stuff just a little bit. Because it's my program, what worked for me. Dry, I was going for long periods of time until I didn't. Dry was one of those where I was still under the mentality of, I can't drink anything ever again. Well, that's kind of true. But at the same time, it wasn't working. And I would slip up. And I didn't get as bad as my sponsor was saying, but I got to the point where I was dry, and then I would just drink myself into oblivion. I would binge. And that's one of the other problems with AA. They really don't care for, at least the meetings I went to, it's like, if you binge drink, that's not really alcoholism. But binge drinking started leading me down to that process where it's like, I started, I wouldn't say so much the physical needs, but I felt it when I didn't have it. It's like, oh, damn, And then once work was over with, I went right to a bar. And I was starting to go to bars, and then it's like, okay, I'm not dry anymore. Now I'm drunk. And I was going to these places and doing these things. And I started running with not the wrong crowd, but just that group of firefighters and stuff. That was their thing. After work, okay, we're going to hit up this place. They close at 2. We're going to go to this gentleman's club over here. We're going to drop our paychecks. Then we're going to go home to our second whatever. And I was doing it. I will admit that fully.
But you're married and still married to your first wife, right?
Only, yes.
Yes, only wife.
Yeah. And it got to the point where it just wasn't at work. It was one of those, it was coming home. And I married a goddamn saint because I'll be honest with you. Like, I never stepped out or anything like that, but I don't know how many women could tolerate their husbands going to a strip club with, single firefighters. It's like, here I am coming drunk out of my mind. And it's one of those, like, they're not only are they doing that, but it's like, little baggies of stuff and dollar bills rolled up, that kind of a thing. Never touched it.
No.
But it's like, if I do this long enough, I will end up like those people in the meeting. I won't only be alcoholic, it'll be narcotics. How long until I let my guard down and I do a little bump, a little rail, right? And it turned into one of those things where I would come home drunk and Molly would look at me and you could just tell. And then I felt worse.
Sure.
And I never want to be the victim. So it's like, I shrug it off, fine. Wake up the next day, realizing what I did, coming back down to a low, and then here's dry again. Okay, 24 hours, 36 hours passed. So all the liquor in my system had been processed. And it's like stress at work, still shameful for what I did 48 hours ago. And I end up at the same bar, and it's like, order the drink. And the entire time I'm looking at this thing, it's like, I know I shouldn't drink this, but I need to drink this. And then it goes down. And then you hate yourself as you're cutting up with your friends that you're, buy around, they buy around for you. And what really kind of kicked home for me, it's like, if these guys and gals at the places I'm hanging out and doing things. You know, this is the highlight of their day, night, and I'm seeing here as constantly as I am. Yeah, it's all a facade. You know, one guy tells me, it's like, yeah, I own restaurants, I own this and that. And it's like, you're here getting completely inebriated, wasted. It's like, here I am. I got to be to the office at 9 o'clock in the morning, up at 6, and it's now 2 o'clock in the morning. So the amount of times when I would wake up and get behind the wheel, and it's still in your system. So I was technically driving drunk.
Sure.
On my way to work. The only saving grace was I was administrative, so I'm not on an ambulance at that point. It made me feel just a little bit better about it. So dry was when I wasn't drinking, and then when things get too bad, I would drink again, and then again, and it was a vicious cycle. And I felt better with the first 2 or 3 drinks, and then after 6 and 7, I felt horrible, and then after a 12 and a 24. What do you really remember at that point? And then dry kind of happened. And then I was on, it was, when did I text you, Tim?
I can look.
What was the date? Yeah, that's going to be an important thing with this story.
I got a missed call from Donald.
Yeah. I realized, like, crap, it's time for the show.
That's okay. It was January 18th.
Yeah, before that, I think the
all right. November 22nd.
Okay, and I don't even know what Thanksgiving falls on.
Yeah, it was right around there, because before that was pictures of you and I at the bonfire in September, and then you messaged me, just filling me in on what was going on.
Yeah, I was drunk and in an Uber, and on my way to the strip club to hang out with the firefighters and shit. And I realized it's one of those, like, I can deflect this for a really long time, but you're an alcoholic. You've toyed with the idea. You said you are. You decided you weren't. And you're just doing the same thing on repeat. And then what really, really drives me nuts with it is I know because of what I do and my job, I know how it affects the body.
Sure.
How that first bit, it gets absorbed through the bloodstream, your liver, the time it takes. And then as you're going, you wake up the next day, and I know why I have a hangover. I can, like, picture the diagram from class, like, this is happening here. This vessel is, it's like, this is why I'm hungover. And then it's one of those, like, hair of the dog. Okay, this is why this doesn't actually work, but it works. And then when we do those ambulance transports, the patient's going through withdrawals. And I got to the point where if I didn't have a drink, I could feel it. But I wasn't to the point where I was having the DTs, delirium tremens. And how many patients I've transported from, hell, I'll give you an ambulance story. Confessions of an Ambulance Driver still exists partly. We had a patient that we were picking up from a rehab facility. His blood alcohol was even more than they can handle. He had to be transported to the ER to be medically managed for that to come down. Wow. Yeah. And then he had barbiturates. He had everything. All the tox screen was like a goddamn Bible. And yeah, it's like, I'm doing all this, and how many patients I've seen with DTs, with withdrawals. And now I'm starting to experience withdrawals if I don't have a drink. And then it's like, when the little corner guy knows, like, here's an airplane shooter. I'm just buying a Monster. Yeah, this airplane shooter's on the house. Like, motherfucker. Okay, big tall can Monster. Take one sip and then bloop. Yeah. I'll tell you what. This is how you know when you you're not hitting rock bottom, but you figure it out. If you want to keep your beer or your bottle of insert stuff here from freezing in a cold car, you only have to put it in a cooler And then as long as it doesn't get like 20 and below, it'll be cool, but it won't freeze. And when it gets super cold, just throw a hand warmer in there. It keeps it just warm enough where it doesn't freeze. That's how you know you've got an issue, when you come up and you figure out stuff like that.
It's ingenious. I understand. Yeah. So was it the moment in the Uber? Was that the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The level of self-loathing, but still going and doing it. And then I was there for probably 5 or 6 hours. And then
Still went to the bar?
I was in the middle of the Uber on my way there when I text you. And it's one of those, like, did my thing, and then just, I don't know what hit me. I was feeling it on the way there, and then when I'm there, it's like, this isn't right. And they were still there. They closed out the place. I went home in an Uber. I didn't drive, of course. That's about the only thing I did right with what I was going through. About the only thing. Did the walk of shame, got up the stairs, and I don't know if it would have been one more time, 2 more times, or 10 more times. I know when I walked up and Molly could smell it on me, along with the perfume and all the other bullshit. I was going to walk in eventually, and she wasn't going to be there. I knew that. And then it took me a hot minute, but did outpatient. Okay. That was a humbling experience.
You told me that before, and I don't know, what does that entail? Go into a little or as much.
I went to rehab, pretty much. I had to, because me doing it by myself wasn't working. AA wasn't working. I went into outpatient therapy. I went into outpatient services rehab. And that was interesting, because that's all walks of life, and everyone from everywhere. We're talking from 18 to 60s. And then everyone had a story that was different but similar. They teach you some coping things. You go through all the process, and then got out of that. I'm still working. And then here's the worst and maybe funny. I don't even know what it is. My employer never knew. And if he did, never said anything.
Wow.
It was just one of those, like, if I were to tell you I was that good at hiding it, no, bullshit. In my mind I was, but no. People could tell, people could know. Because they ask me now, it's like, you look a lot better. It's like, yeah, I'm sober now. Yeah, really? It's like, oh, thanks, you jagoffs. So after that, this is where I just.
So there was, you told me about New Year's Eve, and this was kind of the point where maybe you hit the, what metaphor do we want to use there?
It's not rock bottom.
No.
I can't say that, because
it was your, I don't want to say it was your point, whatever that point was.
I was invited to a New Year's Eve party. And I know if I would have went to the New Year's Eve party, the cycle would have started over. So this is probably the first time in my legal adult life where at 10 o'clock I was home and I went to bed. Yeah. I remember probably 1 o'clock hearing the fireworks. And then I woke up the next day, like 8, 9 in the morning. I stand up out of bed. It's like, holy shit, you're not hungover. Like, this is sober. This is sober. I did tried programs, did other things, but it wasn't until the first of this year that I knew sober. And when I found that out, I didn't want to let it go. And then the other part of my program too was, like, I had to humble myself. And I always rip off, I'll admit it, I rip off James Yeager's line, agnostic mercenary for Jesus. Students get a fucking hoot out of it when I say it. It's like, what the hell does that mean? So whatever the hell you think it means.
That's right.
Yeah. So I got more spiritual and then started talking to one of the other paramedics at my station, and he's very God-fearing. Talked to him about a few things and like really got back into faith. And I can say it, and I said it when I was going through AA with my sponsor, but it's like, I'm a Christian. And for the longest time, I couldn't say that. And I didn't want to say that. But I'm good with it now. And I know in this crowd, we have everyone from agnostic, atheist, deist, Christian, Islam, everything in this crowd. Yeah, it finally meshed for me. And now I carry this little bastard around. And that same paramedic that kind of guided me through, I asked him for a reading list. What should I be looking to study with this? Now I have 5 or 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 conversations a day with God. Just, like an old friend. And when I understood I was sober and I wanted to keep it, and I finally found, it's like, everyone talks about how they hear the voice of God or they experience it in different ways. I was just the strangest thing in the world. When I finally came to terms with things, I didn't hear him. I was walking from the alleyway in my apartment, and then just a breeze blew by me, and I noticed the trees moving. It's like, this is it. This is my moment. This is him talking to me. Right then and there was the first time in 37 years of existence, I now know the grace of God. Yeah. Walking and seeing a tree blowing. Yeah.
That's okay. Whatever works for you. If that's the moment. So you went from an Uber to waking up sober, not just dry, but sober on New Year's Day. Mm-hmm. And you had your moment with the wind and the tree. Mm-hmm. What all brought you there? Where did it, what was the short journey from the Uber to right now? What's kept you there? What, all of it, The
one thing I did take from AA is one day at a time. It really means a lot. Because when I wrote you about this show, it's like, yeah, by LFTN, I'm going to have 119 days or whatever the hell it is. And right now I've got 36 days, 37, because, and I'm not counting the days. It's more of a,
just
how do I amp?
One more day, you get up, you're not counting the day. You just know that the next day is the next challenge or the next thing to overcome, perhaps.
Kinda. Yeah. And then just overall, this I actually got from my wife's uncle. He did AA for 40 years and he's a firm believer in it. Him, I still go to the open meetings just because it's a good thing. He knows he has one more drunk in him. He doesn't know if he has another recovery.
Fair.
When he said that to me, that kind of resonated. So, yeah, I know every day is going to be hell and be a challenge. It's difficult being around students. It's difficult working in the environment I do, because my day started at 8 o'clock in a Chicago classroom, and now it's 8 o'clock Central Time in Illinois, and I'm still in my goddamn office. And how easy would it have been for me 2, 3, 4 months ago after a day like this to go to my little favorite place down the way, say hello to my friends, and just vent about the stress and the bullshit, and then do the walk of shame and then cycle, repeat. Waves, ebb, flow, cycle.
Do you how is Molly? How is she dealing with this at this point? Are you You guys talk about it at least, or not?
Kind
Really?
of do, and we kind of do, and we kind of don't.
That's fair.
For her, one of the hard things was when I was going through it, and I'm going to these AA meetings, and I'm going through my periods of dry. I'd ask her, it's like, am I an alcoholic? And then she would be like, no, I don't think so. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not.
Fair.
Yeah, you know, and then my corner guy with a monster and an airplane shooter. I'm not an alcoholic. We talk about it now because the New Year's Eve party we skipped. We just went to her friend's birthday party, and that's the first party or social gathering I've been to since I've been sober. And I know that alcohol is always going to be around and part of life. It is what it is. And if I try to shield myself from it, it's just going to make it worse. So we went for this party, and everyone's pretty fucking wasted. Molly had a few drinks, and it was one of those, like, if you can still do this, you can't. And I left there sober still.
Good
That
for you, brother.
tested just about everything I had. So if I surpassed that, I'm okay now. It's the simple moments and stuff like that. Once I get off this with you, I'm going to go get dinner. And then it's the restaurant I'm going to go to. It's probably going to have a full service bar. I know when I sit down and I'm going to have my food, I'm going to have the urge, and this was me. Let me get a MGD or Miller Lite or a High Life, and let me back that with a shot of Jack while I eat insert meal here.
Right.
It's like, you know what? Why don't I do a bucket and then bring a couple? That was how I. So it's like I sit down and I'm going to eat the meal. It's like, you want that beer, but why don't you just be happy with a Coke right now? Yeah.
It's just a way to slide into it, right? Everybody has that ritual that I've met. I just want to share a couple things here that the community said. And B-Man J, he said, each moment's a choice, and you're stronger than you think. And he is a good man. You hopefully you get to meet him in person. He was on the show a couple weeks ago, and him and I have had some good conversations. And he's come from a background, and he knows what he's talking about. This one here, this is from Ed, and this is why you did this show tonight, just so you know. He said, you all will never know how much this conversation means to me. I have a 41-year-old son at a very similar point in both recovery and chronology. And so that's exactly, you didn't know why you were coming on here tonight, but there's the reason. And Cabot wants to know, how do you vent now? I think what's implying is that, in the past you vented with firefighter bros, and that's how you let it out. So
that's tough. That's a work in progress. You got me. You got me.
Take your dude if you need
to. No. That's the tough part, because I'm trying to figure out that network.
Well, I love you.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where it's okay. Prime example. I had a student in the class, and the fucker shoved me. We're doing hands-on demonstration, and he shoved me. And then another student reached out to me, and it's like, we feel unsafe in the class, in the environment. He's a bully. He's done this, X, Y, and Z. And seeing how he's hands-on with you, probably about 5 or 6 of us don't feel safe. It's like, do I keep one student to lose 5? And then when I talk to this kid, he's a 19-year-old kid, and just talking to him, he's just got anger issues.
Sure.
Like, I'm older than that, and I can help you work through it, but greater good. So that was a fucking conundrum. and I talked to, I didn't have anyone to talk to about it initially. And it's like, fuck, bet you if I go to the bar, I could talk to my friends about that. I could vent, and then, you know, maybe it's karaoke night, and, you know, but I didn't. And when Molly got home, I talked to her.
Good man.
And it's one of those weird ones where we try to leave work at work and like home is home. There's even driving in here today to handle this. Just being able to talk to somebody, it's not there. It's not. I have 20 instructors, and they all need something or want something. And I got to be the guy that, you know, big, strong shoulders. Yeah, let me know what you need. We'll talk about it. And I can't talk to any of them about that stuff. But oh hell, I'll do this. The closest thing I had, he sits over there, and he sees what I go through at work, and him and I would talk. This kind of tears me up. And I don't think my sister knew what I was going through. My aunt did. She's my half sister. I found out like 3-4 days ago that nephew by marriage, he committed suicide on Thanksgiving, right? Wow. I got to hear about that 2 or 3 days ago. And it's like, fuck. I was there last year, and it's like I got this kid gift cards for Xbox. It's like I went and I took my niece to the last the blue people in the water.
Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. There we go. We go see that, and seeing him at the movie theater, and we kind of poke fun of him a little bit. It's like, hi. And then we go watch our movie, and then he kind of hooks us up on food and drink, and, you know, not being able to talk to anybody about that. It's hard. And then trying to find someone that understands. I tried with one of the coworkers I have here. He's a 30-year plus firefighter medic, and he's retired now, and he teaches. And he's like, when you getting up this dry thing? When are we going to go out to the place up the road? And like, it's like,
fuck him.
He's a good guy. He just doesn't understand it.
Whatever. He's not your good guy. I'm going to tell you that right now, brother. You need to stay away from him.
Yeah. Well, I got to keep him on the payroll right now.
That's fine.
Yeah. So it's like, fuck. Yeah.
Well, you've got Molly. That's a start. You've got your the brother there that give you the Bible. I bet you he'll listen.
Yeah.
Listen, and you can call me anytime, as long as you don't mind. You know how it works, right? The pigeons. It takes a while for the pigeons to get the signals to Canada. So
yeah,
it's a bit of an issue, you know. But yeah, you're heading in the right direction. You just
did not expect that last question. Was ready for just about everything else, but that last one, damn.
Homestead said to keep your shit together, Don, and you know what I mean.
He's a motherfucker. God damn it!
A
little compassion, you son of a bitch.
I want to share this one. Cabot said, "Love you all." He said, "Sorry, I've asked bad questions," and that was not a bad question that he asked. No,
it's not a bad question simply because it makes me reflect and think. That's like the next thing I have to work on to maintain sobriety. So it's not a bad question. It's just one I wasn't prepared for. And yeah.
Haas is praying for you, Don. So what's next, brother? What do you we're gonna hang out in LFTN. You're gonna what are you teaching there?
This. What I did tonight. Talking about it. Like I said, Bear Independent, Chuck, like you want cool guy medicine? They're your guys. I talked to Nicole. There were the 4 spots that were left open, and it's like I wasn't gonna put in for anything. It's like I need to work on me more before I go making appearances or trying to talk to people about this stuff. And then I saw her TikTok. Son of a bitch. It's like, I love to hate you guys. I really do. It's like, Nicole's 9 hours away. Chuck, what are you about? 10 hours? Shit, you're in another country.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hear the snippets from you guys and all this stuff, and it's like, crap. And she put on that TikTok, like, we have 4 spots available. I'm like, it's great. You know, maybe I'll meet someone cool down there. And she's like, this is one of those events where if you want to talk, apply, we'll select somebody. And it's back to the basics. I'm like, well, shit. Well, shit. It's like, this topic really fits back to the basics.
Yeah, it does.
And then she continued on with the TikTok. It was like a minute long.
Sure.
I'm like, if I don't try, it's like I knew there was a possibility she would say no or somebody else. It's like, but let me try. A couple of days go by, about a week goes by. It's like, cool, I'm off the hook. No shit. Wake up the next morning, I got the email from Nicole. It's like, you made the cut. I'm like, son of a bitch.
I should have warned you. She's about a week out on her emails.
I know that much, but it's like, ignorance is bliss. Like, crap. Now there's accountability there. And then it's like, okay, what's next? Tomorrow, I have to have a meeting with a couple of people here, figure out some stuff at the office. Tomorrow, I have to figure out what's for lunch, what's for dinner. And I don't know. Future down the road, I like sober, but I know it's not going to be easy to maintain. Overall, let me find out my boss is watching this. I'm exploring other options that's less stressful. Yep, I know monetarily I can take a hit, but
I like hearing
I was thriving when I first started working as an EMT, $15 an hour.
That blows my mind.
Like, I'm married, got a shitty apartment. It's like, yeah, $15 an hour. I can survive and thrive on that.
You can always go back and bust crackheads' heads at the Target or the grocery store there when you're security.
Yeah, God. Whew. That was a trip and a journey.
Dude, anyway, it wasn't that long ago that we met, but I when I met you at LFTN, it all clicked, because that's when I met you, I'm like, oh, I remember the stories, because you were on Nicole's, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5, whatever it was. And you were talking about the craziness that was COVID at a grocery store, because you were still working some security there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was a security manager for 2 grocery stores in Chicago, and like by the Red Line, Chicago. So if you know what that is, that's like high crime, high theft. Like, they'd come in, grab a case of insert liquor here, and then jump on the Red Line and then disappear. That was one of those jobs where you would think, as a private security guard, it's just, observe and report Paul Blart. No, I watch people get mugged. I watch people, Jesus Christ, man, like, everything under the sun. Like, everyone comes to the grocery store for food. I got cool stories working EMS. I got really fun stories working in a grocery store as a loss prevention manager. Like, holy shit. And the simple fact now that I can smile about that says something, because there's some nights I came home and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Yeah.
I remember my best friend, he works in the grocery, and he lived in a pretty sketchy city for a while, and a crackhead went in and grabbed live lobsters out of the lobster tank one time and went running.
Tell me, put him down his pants.
He didn't. He just grabbed him and ran. And for whatever reason, the seafood manager chased him, and the dude pulled out a needle and stuck him with it. I know it's not funny now, but the guy had to, it was like company paid for HIV. The guy was fine. Nothing happened, but I don't get it, man. I don't. But you talk about maybe needing a change, and my dad, he'll be 70 this year, and he is a really, like, that dude is, anyway, about half the rules I live by I learned from him. And one of his favorite sayings is, a change is as good as a rest. And sometimes just making a change in your life for work or whatever is all it takes is to refresh your soul. And sometimes, we get caught in this stupid little hamster wheel that we're like, I can't live without this job, or they can't live without me, or whatever it is, and all it takes is just stepping off and going and doing something different. And it might be the one thing that you need to just kind of brighten your life,
Yeah.
Not saying it
Actually,
is.
You ask what's next. That's it right there. What's tomorrow or next year? That. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. God damn you again for making sense.
Whatever. So what? I can put on a good show no, I'm just kidding. But
yeah.
So LFTN, April, that's where you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
What's the journey between then and now and then going to be for you? Just one day at a time, brother?
I could tell you that, but I might be lying. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
I always think back to when I'm driving in my car and how Jack talks about if you're a drone in the car driving to and from. Well, when I got into private EMS, that wasn't me. Now I'm there again. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yep.
So trying to figure that out, trying to maintain sobriety. And then here's a fun one for you. Maybe if you have a listener, let me ponder this for you. Now that I'm figuring out this Christianity, how do we tell and how do we know the difference of when we're serving ourselves as opposed to when we're serving the Lord?
I'm not the one to ask that question, but there's lots of folks. There's lots of folks out there who can.
And then I had that conversation with my good friend. And he's like, if someone can give you a one-word answer, or they said they can explain it, they're full of shit. Because there's that's a discussion question. And that's, I don't know. Now I'm rambling.
It's okay.
Now I'm rambling.
So you shared your story. Are you cool with people reaching out to you to talk?
Yeah. Yes, I am 110%. The best way to do that is I no longer have the domain. I got rid of that.
Oh, that's fine.
And one of two ways. My email is donaldnyoung@outlook.com.
Donald N as in November?
Yep.
Young at
outlook.com.
There we go, folks.
And then that's going to be one of those where it's a little more formal. And I gave it last time. Let me give my new, I call it my business line.
Okay.
You have my personal number, so I put a little filter. If anyone wants to talk to me about anything, I mean anything. 708.
Do you want me to type before you go any? Do you want me to type it into the comments as well?
Yeah, go nuts.
Okay, go ahead.
708-336-1944.
708-336-1944.
Mm-hmm.
You're a wild man.
You know what? You know where I got that one from? James. More than once, if you watch his old videos, the crazy fucker gave out his number.
Wow.
And you could call him and he would pick up. Just on YouTube. Okay. And a lot of the teaching I do is, well, there you go. Right there. From that man right there. Oh, hold on.
My screen's small and my eyes are bad, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's James Jaeger.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't have many decorations on my wall, but I do that. I will happily say I'm a proud alumni. And then the only other book that I keep close to me besides my Bible now is this one here. His book.
Nice.
And this isn't me plugging it. I
No.
bought it when it first came out, and I left it in the car, and the binding, the glue melted, and it fell apart. And then you talk about family versus relatives. God damn it. This like killed me when I did this. I'm just going to put this up there. Like that's the forever bookmark in there.
Oh, wow.
Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. TAC Response Alumni, Self-Reliance, LFTN. All different, but all similar and all good people. You just got to find what works for you. So, as for my email me anything. The only thing I ask is in the subject line, tell me who you are and what you're reaching out for. If you call me, might not answer at 4:00 in the morning. But when I wake up at 6, I'll definitely look. But please leave a voicemail. Tell me who you are and why you're calling me. I'll call you back.
That's me. I've more than once had a missed call from Don in the middle of the night, and I'll wake up, and I'll try to message you back, and that's just
And then if you're gonna text me, don't be creepy about that shit. I had one guy reach out to me and text me off my old phone, and I'm like, tell me who you are, what you want to talk about, and I'll reach back.
It said Ed Celio says he's in California. It's a whole other country.
brother, that's not a country. That's California. Like Ruski Red. I'm sorry. I'm a stone throw from Chicago. I understand the plight. Yeah. So call me, text me. Just if you could follow those guidelines, I will reach back to you, and we can have open dialogues and conversations about anything. I can teach you how to be an EMT, EMR paramedic. We can have conversations about radios because like Evan put me down that path, and now talking to Nate, like I'm really getting heavy into the fucking weeds. You want to have a conversation about spirituality? Let's go. My bread and butter is always going to be agnostic mercenary for Jesus. This fucker right here, James, he did more for me than just about anybody in my life. I've had more classes with John Lovell, Dave Harrington, training attack response. Like, let's talk about that. Any of it, all of it. Or if you just want to say hi, or if you're going through what I did and you're not sure what to do, I might not have an answer for you, but I can at least listen. Yeah. So.
Thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And I know the shit's never easy. The heavy stuff's worth it, right? And you're doing it. It's all you can. You know, I tell you, I'm proud of you. You know that. And you know what? It only helps so much. So you keep doing exactly what you're doing. And
I think I got one request from like everyone here listening.
Sure.
And it's gonna sound kind of cocky. I don't need the good for you. I don't need the keep going. I don't want a round of applause. I don't need a thank you. In fact, I hate that. If I have you in my life and I give you something, take it. It's because I want to. I'm kind, I'm not nice. And it takes a lot of people to know the difference. And if you got anything from this story, absolutely let me know. But share the story. Don't thank me for my courage or my service. That was one of my biggest things when COVID hit and I'm working as a fucking EMT medic. It's like, thank you for your service. Oh, fuck off. You know, now the feisty Don's coming out. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
It's all right, brother.
Yeah.
We will, let's leave it there, folks. I normally do a close, but where can we go from there? So, you know, we love you out there, guys. And Don, I'm here for you anytime. Mm-hmm. And as always, folks, stay happy, stay healthy, have a great week.